Welcome to the Business and Leadership Channel. My name is Michelle Boulay, and I'm so honored to be a sponsor here at this amazing conference because it's my passion to help you connect to your own inner leader and let that transform the businesses and relationships you create. I'm a life coach and healer and an internationally recognized award-winning dance artist. And dancing taught me to listen to my own inner voice and let that guide me to my success. A very common thing that happens for business owners, creatives, and leaders is that you're so close to your next goal or breakthrough and then you stop. Doubt kicks in, worry, procrastination, fear, overwhelm, which kill growth in your business and creative process. So I'm giving a talk here on Saturday, October 24th, where you'll learn tools so that you can show up with clarity and belief in yourself and your ideas, consistency to keep showing up, and the embodied and intellectual understanding to move you gracefully through the challenges you'll meet as you grow, as you go for your goals. If you can't make it live, pick up your phone now, go to Instagram or Facebook, find me, follow me, and DM me the word success, and I'll send you the free resource I'll be sharing at my presentation. It's also in the show notes. However, I do recommend you attend live here or at my main stage presentation to get the full scope of what I'll be sharing to help you realize your creative dreams. And now, please enjoy this next presentation.
Welcome to the Embodiment Conference 2020. We're delighted to welcome Annette Dubreuil, who's going to speak about savoring positive memories to provide self-care, using focusing and a positive memory to self-resource an issue that is stuck in your life. And they're going to play our sponsor's video, and I'll formally introduce Annette's background and make sure, and I've changed things around. Nope. I might just play this at the end because I need to shuffle windows around after doing some other pieces. So let me just come back to Annette. Annette is a certified focusing teacher and environmentalist living in Toronto, Canada. She teaches pausing and embodiment to catalyze sustainable change with teams for their organizations, communities, and the planet. Most recently, she led communications at Canada's Eco-Fiscal Commission. Annette completed the Presencing Foundation program in Theory U at MIT. She has an MBA in Sustainability and Nonprofits from the Schultz School of Business and an undergraduate degree in Environmental Science from the University of Waterloo. Annette, welcome to the conference. Thank you so much for being here. Looking forward to your piece.
Thank you, Matthew. Okay, so I'm going to start by sharing my screen and showing a few visuals. Before we get into the exercises today, I have 3 exercises prepared that'll take us to the self-care piece and working through a stuck issue. So sharing my screen to start and just getting all set up. Perfect. All right. So what is focusing, first of all? The practice we'll be using, the main practice we'll be using today to do these exercises is called focusing. And it was created by Eugene Gendlin in the 50s and 60s. He did work with Carl Rogers. And it's a deep self-listening practice where we really get below the surface. So looking at the iceberg, this is one way of thinking about it, that what we're consciously aware of is our physical sensations, thoughts, and feelings. And if we sink into the body, if we pause, if we go deeper, then there's so much more that becomes available to us. And we call that the felt sense. There's meaning in it. And however, the felt sense is not there quite like an iceberg. It's a bit more like a cloud, right? Clouds come and then they go. So a felt sense is more like that. It's not that it's already there waiting for you. Some of it is coming freshly, like things are combining in your awareness for the first time. So it's more like a cloud. But for the sake of above the waterline and below the waterline, we're going to keep with the iceberg. So a felt sense will grow as you stay with your attention with it. And we can kind of do different kinds or levels of focusing, if you will. If we're just kind of snorkeling, we're getting a little bit more below the surface, but we're not going all the way down to the bottom like we would be if we were scuba diving. So there's different levels of experiencing. So the first exercise we're going to do today, we'll do some snorkeling. We'll do just a little deep, a little dipper of our toe in the water, and then we'll go even deeper. And I just wanted to say a few other things about focusing that are kind of cool. It's really a conversation between the mind and the body, and the left brain and the right brain. So our left brain puts things into words, and our right brain speaks in feelings. And our right brain has more connections to the visceral organs in our body. So when we're focusing, we're often with sensations that are in our belly or in our chest. And that's the perspective of the right brain. And then we're putting into words those things, and that's the left brain. So that is cool. I love that. So keep going. So the other thing I'm going to be using today is my focusing teacher, Jan Winhall's model. And Jan actually presented yesterday, so her talk is still available, so you can go back and watch it. She goes through this much more in detail than I will right now. And what we'll be doing today is working a lot with the bottom. The yellow is the ventral vagal. It's the area of self-leadership that I'll be getting into, but first I'll just go over a little bit the top, because when we get into our stuck issue, there'll be elements of the top that we'll be looking at. So I'll start with fight or flight here. So fight or flight we're familiar with. It's the sympathetic nervous system. It's when you have too much energy, you're mobilized. And then on the left here is freeze fawn, and that is anything from dissociation and numbing to shutdown. And what Jan's addition is, because this is a polyvagal model, so she's integrated the work of so many people, Dan Siegel, there's too many to name, but the main piece she's added into the polyvagal is this, the addiction piece, so that you can swing between fight, flight, and freeze fawn, and that's what happens when we're in an addicted state, as well as process skipping, because you can also have just bad behaviors where, too much emotional eating or drinking or shopping, that instead of dealing with the feelings and going down to be with people, we just escape. So that's that section. And then when we move down into the yellow, this flock area is the social engagement system. This is connection. And then we have intertwined states that you may know from polyvagal, fun or play, which is safe mobilization. And then flow, which is the intertwined state of dorsal and ventral. And so that's safe immobilization. So talking about parts, I'm just going to do a little side track here. So I came up with the idea of body cards in 2015. We were doing a course on ego state set, focusing on board in Jan Winhall's school. And I had seen this research from 2014 of, they had averaged out how people feel certain emotions, how they had reported the feelings in the body. And I said, oh, well, why don't we do that with the felt sense? Why don't we have a card and draw it? So we did that. And so I just want to share a few examples of cards that are examples at the top of the model. So this is a part of me that is really very thought active, but doesn't have any feeling in the body. And this is me when I'm anxious. There's a big knot in my belly, and sometimes I'm sad. There's sadness in my face. And I think that's good for there. So we will move on to the 8 C's of self-leadership. So this concept comes from Richard Schwartz. He in his model, he talks about different parts as well. He talks about wounded parts or exiles and firefighters and managers that live up here. And then he talks about the self, which lives down here. And the self, he called it the 8 C's of self-leadership. There's these 8 qualities. And I started to we started with self-compassion. We were doing self-compassion exercises. And then I was like, well, what happens if you do it with the other C's? And it was very helpful if I brought in part of some other thing, calmness, for example, or confidence or courage. It helped me. And then I started teaching this, and it was helping other people. So you can see different examples of body cards that have been created with the prompt of something connected to that C word or something similar. And so the names are not necessarily the same as I've labeled them. And that's because the handle, which is the word or the phrase that exactly matches it, how it feels in your body, can be different than the word you start with. And so as we do the exercise today, this evening, for me, it's 9 p.m., you might not say when we're doing compassion, you might end up with something else. I have self-empathy on this card. And to illustrate the how these parts can feel different, I want to draw your attention to this card and this card, because they were done the same evening. We did 2 exercises in a course. Some of this is from 2016, where we did a grounding exercise, calmness in the body, and then shifted to self-compassion. And I really saw how the felt sense in my body had shifted. The energy went more into my hands and my heart when I did self-compassion. So just to illustrate that we all carry our emotions differently in our body, and there's a different signature, a different feeling to each of these C's, even though they're all part of self. And the last thing I'll just say before we move into the exercises, a couple other things actually. The first is that it's a really good practice to stay with these positive memories or these states, because that's what helps rewire your brain. You need 20 to 30 seconds of staying with something, savoring it, or a glimmer, as Deb Dana calls it. And Rick Hansen calls this experience-dependent neuroplasticity. So the brain's capacity to change to the experience by prompting good experiences. So that's some background. And then this slide is a new slide, because as I was thinking about it today, because I hadn't actually made a PowerPoint with the Jan's model with the intertwined states of fun and flow yet. And I was thinking, oh, do the 8 C's, where do they fit? And I was like, oh, so cool. They actually, they can be mobile or immobile, each one of them, I think. And so here's some examples, right? I can get clarity in a focusing session where I'm not moving, or I can get clarity after going for a walk. I can be creative with people in a team, or I can be creative on my own. So there's elements of mobility, and then there's elements of self and other in all of these pieces. And so that's kind of cool. It's embodied intelligence or embodied leadership and emotional intelligence. Okay, so we're going to do our first exercise now. And so this will be the snorkeling one, a little dip in. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to invite you to get really comfortable and sink into your seat. And we can start by taking a few deep breaths together. So you can breathe in, and breathe out. You can close your eyes if you'd like. And we're going to spend about 30 seconds. Where's my, oh, now I don't have my timer because it was on the PowerPoint, but that's okay. So about 30 seconds, and with each memory, and we'll just get a little touch. So I'm going to invite you now to, oops, I'm just going to stop. Okay, so so I'll invite you first to close your eyes and invite a memory that was calm and grounding in your body. So it might be something in nature, Oh, and just notice where you carry that memory in your body. How does it feel physically to feel that memory? You might have some emotions about being calm in nature or wherever it is. Okay. And I'll invite you to put that aside. And then now think of a time with connection where you had a group of people. And who was there? And why was that a nice connection memory? And again, seeing where that carries in the body. And now, inviting a memory of curiosity. When you got excited about something, maybe investigating something. And seeing, where do I carry that memory in my body? And now, I'll invite you to bring a memory of compassion into your awareness. Maybe a time when you helped someone. It could have been a small child or a loved one. Remembering how they needed help and what you did. And where's that in your body? And now a memory of clarity. A time when you really understood something or really got what you needed to do next or something like that. And where's that in your body? Now a time of courage. Maybe a time you took a risk, did something big. And how does that feel in your body? And two more, a creativity. A time you made something you were proud of. Something that you made happen. And where's that in your body? And the last one is confidence. Maybe a time you achieved something with ease. You knew exactly what you were doing. And where's that in your body? And now just take a moment to see how you feel overall in your body now. And if you'd like, you can put a word or two in the chat about how you feel having gone through all the aspects, the 8 C's of self-leadership, although very quickly. Bit of a whirlwind, like a life, maybe a nice reel of your life. Inner workout, more connected to my component parts, calm. Lovely. All right. So, if I reshare. My screen just for a moment. So now we're going to go right into a second exercise. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick one of those C's, and we're going to really flesh out the memory in more detail. And we're also going to go through the process of naming that part of you. And I forgot to put the link. I should have sent a link, but I'll do that at the end. I'll give a link to the cards. But if you want, when you take your notes at the end of the exercise, you can draw the shape of a body and color or record what you felt in your body in addition to any aspects of the felt sense, which are thoughts, memories, feelings, and physical sensations. Okay, so yeah, so stop share again. And I will invite you to again close your eyes. And there's a couple ways you can pick the C you're going to work with right now. You can either let your body decide. That's something we do with focusing a lot, where you can say, oh, body, what should I work on right now? In a focusing session, you can have, say, 10 minutes or 20 minutes to look at something inside, to ask the question, something like, what's not going well right now for me, or what wants my attention, and just go with whatever comes. Or you can bring forward a project, a problem, or creative endeavor where you need some help. And so I'll just invite you now to close your eyes and intuitively just see which one feels more right. And you can either ask yourself, which C needs my attention? Which C could I use more of in my life? Which one feels like it's maybe a little bit less developed or doesn't show up as often as maybe you'd like? Or you might have come to this session already thinking of the stuck issue that you want to work on. Or you can just take a moment now and just think of some smallest issue. Don't pick a big issue. We're only going to do 5 minutes. So you just pick a smallest issue that you can use some help with in your life, and then see what your body says for which one would help in that instance. So I'll just name them off, and with your eyes closed, just notice which one resonates, that this is the one that I'm going to use for this exercise. So there was calm, connection, curiosity, compassion, clarity, courage, creativity, and confidence. So pick one, and you can go back to the memory that you just had of a time when you were feeling that way, or you could invite another memory. And I'll invite you to really flesh out the memory in your body with your eyes closed. So were you by yourself or with other people? Where was it? At what time of year was it? Was it warm out or cold out? Were you inside or outside? Were there smells or sounds part of this memory? What happened about it? Why is it a good memory connected to this C that you've chosen? And then really noticing where you're carrying it physically, going back into the body, noticing where it's resting in you. And take some time to describe that physical aspect of it. So maybe there's a color to your sensations, or a density, or a movement, or a texture. Maybe there's a shape. Does the sensation fit within your body or move beyond your body? And where in your body do you feel it? And then checking if there's any emotions, any feelings in there. There might be more than one. And you might take a moment to remember some other times you felt this way, some other memories that are related to this, the way you're feeling in your body right now. And now I'll invite you to name this part. So we started with a C word, but that might not be quite the right word to name this part of you. And so see what words come. It might be the feeling that it evokes in you. It might be related to the memory. One of my cards I had, it was a place where the memory was, that's what I named the part. And if you're not sure, go back and forth to the feeling in the body and the word. If you have more than one word, you can go back and forth until you've got just the right word. And then I'll invite you to take a few moments to take a few notes. And once you're done that, I'm just going to post a little poll. And I think it's launched. There we go. Now it's launched. And you can share with people what C you needed more of, just to get a sense of what people were looking for or needing right now in this exercise. Yes, one was courage. Shoot, the poll is still missing courage. We tried to fix it. I guess it didn't work. Darn. Matthew really tried. Okay, so seeing lots of people picking confidence and connection. And then after that, some looking for calm, compassion, clarity, calm, compassion, creativity, and then clarity. And nobody's looking for curiosity. Haha. Okay, great. So we can end the poll, or I can leave it for, yeah, I'll just end it. So, all right, so I'm just going to share my screen again for just a moment. We'll do a few more little things and then we'll do our last exercise. So we're back here. So this is a quote from a chapter that Richard Schwartz and Flint Sparks wrote in the book Mindfulness-Oriented Interventions for Trauma. They said that parts want to be met with mature leadership, and they long to be liberated from their extreme roles and released to their valuable functions within the internal system. And so it struck me that we can make a practice of pulling our parts into our awareness and into our being, into our embodiment. And so I'm going to share just an example of that. And it's using compassion to provide self-care. So self-compassion is the ability to be there for ourselves. And the way I think of it sometimes is like our life is like a play or a stage where not all the parts are active at any one time. So there's a lot behind stage, and like the parts that are on stage at the moment are the active parts. And so sometimes when we're stuck, it's like there's two parts duking it out, and you need like a third party to come in and intervene. And we're the director of the play, or we write the play. So we can say, okay, let's bring in some self-compassion. So if we're aware that we don't like where we are, and we've got these parts that we've created our cards or created a handle for. The handle is so great because it puts the part kind of on speed dial. Once you've done this a few times, then you can activate that part in you more easily because you're putting you're rewiring your brain to get to those parts more easily. So an example from my life is probably about 5 years ago. I was working a lot, and there would be days where I just didn't have the energy to cook dinner, and I was single at the time, and so I would just go and have a slice of pizza. And my self-talk as I'd be walking there to the pizza place would be, you're not making healthy choices, you're wasting money, you're being lazy. There was like a lot of critic voice and a lot of shame. And then as I started doing this work to love myself more and practice it, then the compassion would come out, and compassion would say things like, well, you're working too hard this week. So what can we do to create some rest? Can we sleep in on the weekend? Or maybe there's too many things scheduled. Maybe we can cancel something or whatever, or just come up with something. And so as compassion showed up more often and then started doing it naturally, the critic didn't have to show up. The critic got to go back to its natural role, whatever that is. Hopefully being more creative. Okay, so we're going to do the last and third exercise, which will be using the C that you just used in the last exercise to bring into your stuck issue. So I'm going to stop share again and invite you again to close your eyes. Let's take a few deep breaths. And oops, guess I can't do that. Sorry. And what you can do now is just bring in a small stuck issue in your life. And I'm emphasizing small because we're going to do this for 5 minutes, and because you want something that is you can do just on your own with us together. But so looking at the issue, seeing if there's other people involved, or is it an issue with yourself? Maybe it has multiple parts involved. And just recall some of the details briefly so that you can activate it in your body a little bit. And you'll kind of go into the water from the iceberg and sink down, lower under the water. And You can notice physically where you're feeling this issue in your body. And any feelings that are arising. And now notice what the typical thoughts are in this stuck issue. You probably have 2 or 3. And they might be like, do it or not do it, move faster, move slower, something. What's the conflict? Why is this stuck? And checking to see if there's any other perspectives. If you ask those perspectives to step back, is there a quieter, maybe shyer one that also is involved in this issue? Is there anybody else? Any other part? And if so, what do they say? And now asking all of those parts to step back a little bit. You might actually picture them in front of you or beside you. And now take that C part that you just named in the last exercise and invite it with the handle that you just used to call it forward and say, ask that part, what do you have to say about this? And see if it, see what it says. Does its perspective something we're already aware of, or is it providing something that is a bit new? And now I'll invite you to just notice physically what's happening. Where have the sensations changed? Are there sensations in new parts of the body? And are there any new thoughts arising? Finally, let's ask the body, what would be the right next step? Maybe you have a request for yourself or for somebody else. And just notice when you ask that question to your body, how your body responds. How it physically responds, and then in noticing that, follow that. Are there emotions that are changing? And are there new thoughts coming from that? So staying deep in the body. And then I invite you to thank your body for all that it shared with you this evening, or wherever time it is where you're watching this from. And just take a moment to take a few notes if you'd like. And then we could have a few people come on camera if they'd like to share. Can we put their hands up? Is that okay? Yeah? You can if you put your hand up, you can come on camera and share, or you can share in the chat.
Just to point out for those attendees that are holding back from coming on camera, is that Annette's screen is spotlighted, so on the video and in the Facebook feed, only her will be seen. The panel will be completely anonymous, but it would just be nice to have some faces and interactivity for Annette to get a sense of how people were moved by that exercise. So do put your hands up and join Annette on her side of the screen and give some lovely feedback.
Yeah. And can they share orally?
Yes.
Yes, they can. Yeah. Right.
Linda Davis says, great exercise, thank you.
Yeah. And earlier with my comment about curiosity, Maybelline said that I'm guessing we are all quite curious to be in this conference already. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Julie says that was very helpful. Gave me a sense of agency. Beautiful. And someone's having technical issues. Well-being said, I found this beautiful green floating translucent disc in my body that seemed to be our bring me to my compassion place. And Lara said, I was moved to tears, brought to my knees, found an unexpected response. Lara, was that a good response, a good tears or bad tears? It was connected to the way I love and nurture my plants. Okay, and then we can also take some questions. If anybody has questions, I know there was one question in the chat earlier about what is polyvagal theory. And that's Stephen Porges' work, and he is also presenting at this conference. And I would say the main thing a couple things he did was he realized that the nervous system doesn't have just two parts, but it really is three parts. So people often know about fight or flight and rest and digest. So this is the fight or flight is the sympathetic nervous system, and rest and digest is the parasympathetic. And he realized that there was two branches to that the social engagement system, which is our most modern system, connects the nerves in the face and in the ears, and that's how we feel safe with eye contact, with tone of voice. We can tell our nervous system picks up on small little micro movements that we know someone's smiling or we know someone's frowning. So that was one part of it. And then the other part was the second part of the parasympathetic, which he called the dorsal, is the oldest system. And it's what we see, it's freezing, it's numbing. You'll see it in, I think a mouse who's caught in a cat's mouth, it'll just play dead, fainting. So at the extreme of that, it's a shutdown collapse state. And at the milder end, it's call it fawning or appeasing, where there are these pleasing behaviors that are stuffing down our emotions, and so that we can cater to others who are creating that, or sending to our nervous system a sense of danger. So those are the main three states. And then the other mixed states, the intertwined states, are, he calls it play, for the social engagement system that is mobilized. And you can hear that in children, right? Like you can hear when children start moving from playing and having fun to moving into, oh, this is gonna be bad very soon, like someone's getting upset. Someone feels like they're fighting now instead of playing. And then on the other side, the dorsal, the more reptilian, with people, is intimacy, safe and not moving. I'm going to go back to the chat. I haven't been monitoring, but okay, some bigger comments here. So people are having tears with some of their C's. Some message is not coming to all of us. Oh yeah, so if you're not doing panelists and attendees, then not everybody sees them. So Lynn says, I feel so much more embodied with my stuckness. Instead of using brain and hands, which is the default mode, I was thinking of stroking this obstacle figuratively and physically with my feet inside the body, feet inside of the body. What a simple yet profound insight. Great. And then this person said, I had recently been promoted and there is a bunch of new tasks. So I have been researching organizational techniques. It's been an overwhelming feeling. This has really helped. Thank you. I had found the answer with simplicity and brought out excitement in me, and I ended up laughing. Thank you. Sarah says, I created a new part from a beautiful childhood memory on beach in Maui. She's been a powerful memory for a long time, and now she is just that much more real. I love how I can call on her more instantly. Thank you. Lily says, so would it be helpful to touch the ears as self-care? Oh, probably. I don't know any particular meridians in the ears. I don't know a lot about meridians. But I mean, this one, well, that's really close to the ear, right? Like this one, like this is a nice way to fall asleep, is to put your hand, and then the other one on your neck, and there's some pressure points. And if you Google triple warmer meridian exercises, you can find these. So that has a calming effect. And there's other ways to stimulate the vagus nerve. You can do self-massage on the face. And actually Jenna Chevalier, who's participating tonight and actually made some of the images that I forgot to mention earlier in the presentation. She's part of the Focusing on Boredom community. She just did a self-touch, and we did, in addition to self-touch, we also talked about sound and singing and all these things that activate the vagus nerve. And Stephen Porges also has like a sound protocol that I can't really explain it, but it's some sort of listening stuff that helps exercise, I think, your inner ear, because there's 3 nerves that go to the ear. That's related to autism. Yes. Okay. I feel like sharing this with my partners that I'm working on this issue with. Thank you. Great. I can imagine with more time, this goes very deep. Yes. Over time, it goes both ways with both parts, right? Like as you map hurt parts, you can start to notice them sooner. So for example, I noticed with one of my hurt parts that my arms would get cold. So now when I notice my arms getting cold, like if nothing's changed, all of a sudden I'm cold, I go, did something just happen? And so I'm just that much more closer aware that something is changing. Lara says spaciousness came out as a character. Ginger says Donna Eden has a lot of exercises for the vagus. Great. Thank you for sharing that. And Wellbeing says thanks for the shout out. And Kit says, I was able to use feeling of joy that came up to help with helpless feeling that came up. Thank you. And okay. So any other questions? I guess we're allowed to share one thing from our work. So maybe I could spend a moment doing that too. And so there's a couple programs on my website, and the free one is a changes group. And that's going to be meeting the 3rd Tuesday of every month. And a changes group is a free drop-in focusing, not exercise, but meeting. So we'll use Zoom in breakout rooms and go into groups of 2 or 3, and you can practice focusing. So it's not a teaching of focusing, but it's an opportunity to to be listened to. And I didn't mention that at the beginning, but focusing is best done with a partner, because it does something to the energy. It's kind of like with many things, right? If you have a personal trainer, or you go to a yoga class or some other exercise class, you'll stay in the space for the whole time. You won't get distracted by your phone or something. And it also allows you to go deeper. I think there's something about the co-regulation that I didn't say a lot about that, but the ventral vagal, that self-leadership part, those C's, they like to be connected to other people, and we get a lot of safety from other people. So that so there's, when we're doing especially the harder work of working with the difficult parts, there's trauma work, and if we feel safer because we have somebody accompanying us, that's beautiful. And Eugene Genlin's vision was that we would only very rarely go to therapy, that we would have lots of people in our lives who could listen to us, who we could focus with, so that when little issues came up, we would resolve them. We would focus, and they would over time move on, and that we would have a lot more help from each other with the practice of focusing. Yeah. Last call.
The question that's popping up. What have we got here? Oh, no. Yep, done. Gorgeous. Thank you. I appreciate the gentleness in your voice. I get that sense of that unconditional positive regard in the way that you approach your work. It's a little grace in the tonality of your voice. I appreciate the skill you would bring with this particular kind of work when you're touching on areas that are vulnerable. But that'll be super. It's a question for you. Is this good for youth to use? Do you think?
Yes, and there's a whole stream of people. I'm not very familiar with it. There's a whole children focusing community. So the international organization is called the International Focusing Institute. It's focusing.org. I'll put that in here, focusing.org. And if you go in there and you search for professionals, like Find a Practitioner, I think is what it's called, there's a whole section of people who do children and focusing. So yes. The group, the website is pupa.ca, and the group meets Tuesday from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
Fantastic. I put that in the chat as well. I'm going to put a few other details for the Embodiment Conference. There was a message there about how does somebody save this. Well, they can watch it on the Facebook Live, and that'll be on there for 48 hours, as well as access to the portal will be available for 48 hours. After that, it needs to be paid for and bought, and that includes all of the recordings at a super price until the end of the conference. That enables us to pay to put this together and make this available, as well as the wonderful contributions from Annette and many others that have given up their time and their professionalism, regardless of my little blooper, to be present and show up and offer their skill. So huge thank you to Annette for turning up in the way that she has today and bringing this lovely process to us. Much, much appreciated. Thank you. Annette, what is your top embodiment tip? We're asking all our presenters to give their top tip for embodiment.
I think the top tip would be just to make sure you do it. That's terrible. To do it more often, actually. It's just that even small little things, the body will have wisdom about it. The part I said about the right brain, that your broader perspective of your right brain is being picked up by your body and is communicated to you in your body. And so that if you're not consulting your body on really almost anything you're doing, you're letting your left brain be in charge. So be more integrated. I guess. Yeah.
Be more integrated.
Yeah.
That's great.
Use
They
it more
all
often. Use it. Use it. You use it with your work. Use it before work. Use it after work. Use it with people. Just check in. Pause.
Lovely. Thank you so much. And Kit
Thanks.
also says, thank you so much, Annette. That's great. I really appreciate you showing up in the way that you have.